We're starting to see a big breakout with the price of silver. You can see some huge green candles starting to form. We've actually exceeded $76 within the last hour, and this trading data is coming in super live right now. So as I'm making this is the live data coming through. We actually surged up to about $76.35 for silver, and things are looking exciting. So silver, gold, platinum, we're going to be breaking it all down in today's video. So what you need to know if you're holding silver going into the future. We'll also talk about the ramifications of some of the world's biggest geopolitical events, including what's happened with the oil in Venezuela. We have some breaking data about that, and we're also going to be talking about what countries could be on the next next on the list from Trump. So he has hinted at some countries that if they don't behave, he is going to potentially take some action against. And what would that impact be on silver, precious metals? So if you own any of these, comment down below. And also at the end of the video, I'll be reading your comments. So if you do have a comment during this video, you have some insight you want to share, guys, drop them down in the comment section below. We'll read them out in the next video. So having said that, let's go. And right now, silver price really looking strong. So long-term silver holders getting rewarded, the long-term silver faithful getting rewarded right here. We're potentially on the road to break another all-time high. You can see this next wave up. So we are forming some pretty interesting technical levels for silver. You can see something interesting forming here on the hourly charts is this previous level of resistance right here and here. This has potentially flipped into a level of support, right? So you can see here at this level, which is about $71, that has now flipped into a level of support. So it's actually bounced off that, and it's actually broken this recent, local high right here, and it's actually heading towards $76. So if we have a look at our technical front, what else we need to understand here is we are going to be encountering some, technical level of resistance here at about $77. And then after that, look, if it breaks through $77, you're going to get a clear shot at the king once again. So $83. And this is where, we could potentially go to $100, right? This could be $100 silver coming up in the future. That is exciting. And but on the short term, this is just moving really fast. So, for a long period of time, people need to understand that, the silver market, it was suppressed megally for a long period of time, basically doing not much at all. But right now, it is a very high reward asset that is moving very fast as this kind of geopolitical data comes into the world. But that is just something to watch out for. So watch out for a potential breakout. We are seeing potential discrepancies around the world. So this is getting posted over on X. I'm seeing people post this. Where is the post I'm talking about? It's going to be this one. So people are reporting that silver is getting sold physically for $100 an ounce globally. So there is a big disconnect. That is what people are saying around the globe. You have here over in Britain, according to Shibo, Britain's silver priced at $115 an ounce. UK is officially selling 1 ounce silver coins for 85 pounds, which is about 115 USD. Futures market in the US open at 6 p.m. EST tonight. Price is surging fast. So yes, guys, there is a big discrepancy. And this is why, look, the ultimate insurance plan for silver, it does come down to the physical metal. So if you physically own this, right, you are taking all the risk away, generally speaking, in regards to, paper risk. And, when you're dealing with paper risk, you're dealing with, trusting banks, trusting audits. And to be honest with you, there is good reason not to trust a lot of things out there. So, there's a big question mark over whether there isn't even enough gold and precious metals in Fort Knox. They haven't audited that in many years. And I don't even know if they will audit it properly. And who knows if it's really there, right? But if you actually own the precious metal, right, and you actually know it's pure and it's not fake, and you can store this yourself, then you're putting yourself in the best position for what's coming up in the world. And we'll talk about that actually right now, because we're having big escalations. The first thing I want to retouch on is what's been happening with Venezuela. So Venezuela is gone, right? Venezuela has been taken over. There might be, some type of conflict that might rage on. Just keep that on the radar, because anytime you take out a leader in a country, if the people aren't all behind the decision, it can just turn into a bit of a quagmire like we've seen in, Syria in Iraq when they got rid of Saddam. So just remember, it's not always going to be smooth sailing. You just replace a leader and you're good to go. It doesn't really work that way. So we're going to see what happens with that situation. But one thing that we do know is the crude oil prices are falling, right? So crude oil is going down, and it's because Trump has given his intention to basically sell a lot of this oil, right? He's selling it. He's saying, we're going to take it, we're going to sell it, and that's just, law of the jungle, basically. We are getting some breaking news that multiple C-17 US military transport aircraft arriving in the UK, right? And that's interesting. Where are they going? Is this just a practice run, or is this just training? That's a lot of military aircraft. Very expensive to run that operation. But having said that, Trump has also hinted right here, Greenland might be on the radar potentially. It says Greenland needs the defense, right? Because they're surrounded by Russian and Chinese ships. And what we are starting to see is Trump is sending warning shots, and this is not even warning shots. Like he's literally taken over the leadership of Venezuela. Not even a warning shot. It's just a what do you call it? Like a blitz. So Venezuela is gone, and he's also warned the governments of Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia that their countries could be next. So watch out for that. And I've actually been to Cuba. Cuba is actually a cool country. I actually quite enjoyed my time there. Everything was super cheap when I was there. The people were very nice. That was my experience in Cuba. Very cool country. But watch out for that. Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia could be next. And he's also warned India as well. So there was a tweet about India as well. So if India keeps buying Russian oil, Trump is going to sanction them. So you can see this is the big picture you have to have on the radar. So we have the map here, right? So Venezuela is the government has been changed right there. Cuba could be on the radar. Mexico could be on the radar. India, if it doesn't, cooperate, Trump's going to exercise influence against them to make them cooperate, stop buying Russian oil. And then ultimately, the two other big countries, or actually three, we'll put in three in the mix. And this is why I think precious metals is getting really, quite exciting, because there is just so much geopolitical conflict that might happen, right? So Iran is another big one, right? Big protests happening right there. That could be on the radar. Russia is obviously, they want to, change the regime in Russia. That's going to be another one. And then also China as well. So remember, there is a huge amount of stuff that's still going to happen. This stuff doesn't end, right? There's always going to be these tensions happening. And this is why I think, having said all this, precious metals, silver, are looking really hot. And the other thing to understand about silver, this is not like a meme metal, right? People are not just buying this because it has no utility behind it, even though that can obviously give value to an asset, right? Because you're going to see that with other types of assets out there, especially cryptos, meme coins, right? They are driven by community value. But the thing about silver is you literally need this, right? You need to have this asset if you want to go to war. And also you need to have this asset if you want to, solar panels, things like that. Solar panels are really important. The whole world is getting electrified with solar panels right now. I'm considering personally putting solar panels on my house at the moment. Even though the return on investment might be kind of like break even, right? It cost me something like 20,000 Australian dollars if I want to do that, but it would get rid of my power bill if I got all the right components indefinitely, excluding maintenance costs and things like that if I have to maintain them, of course. But it does give me that insurance in the case there's a blackout or something like that. I can keep it running, right? I can keep the system running without having to worry about being on the grid. That's something I'm considering, but the whole point I'm talking about here is silver is needed in that process, right? So, and I'm seeing a lot of demand for solar energy, batteries, things like that. And this is where all this precious metal, right? You need it. Copper, platinum, gold. It's all starting to really go up in 2026. And the other thing to understand as well is, you are also going to see the US national debt. This thing's just going to keep going up. And this is why, again, precious metals play such an important role in, an insurance policy against this. Because the politicians don't really care about the US national debt. I mean, they do care, but they can't really fix it. And it's not a top priority because it's the easiest thing to, keep spiraling upwards because there's no real consequence for them. Everyone just needs to bear inflation. Whereas, if you own, precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, copper, this is an insurance policy against politicians and their moves. Right there. So I think short term, guys, silver looking bullish, long term, silver looking bullish. As always, not financial advice, do your own research. But having said that, let's read out some of your comments and I'll give you guys my thoughts right here. So, and if you want to have a comment read out in the next video, make sure to leave a comment in this one and we'll read them all out because the community is small, but it's growing just how we like it. So Young Pistachio, biggest surprise of all of this to me is how much natural resources Venezuela actually has. Yes, Venezuela is a treasure trove of natural resources. So it's a fantastic country as in terms of natural resources. You could build an extremely, extremely wealthy country if it was run very well. So remember all these places, Venezuela, even South Africa once upon a time was extremely wealthy. You can do it if there's natural resources. So the combinations, and this is probably like a hidden economic Zeus thing to understand. But, if you ever want to see a really wealthy nation, all you need to factor in is, is the population actually kind of like smart, switched on? Can they actually get things done? Is it a high trust population or are they just going to like steal from each other, right? That's your first question for economics. And then your second question is, can they actually is there natural resources for them to actually develop an economy around? Because this is part of the reason, people could get on boats, like, 1,000 men could travel all the way to countries like, Australia and build a thriving brand new world effectively because they had, a good population to do it. And they also had, the natural resources to do it as well. So if you have those two things going for you, it doesn't matter where it is. You can become a very wealthy country. And, one of the secrets as well is sometimes you don't even need the natural resources. So if you actually look at countries like, for example, where's Greenland? Greenland and I'll just pick out Iceland, actually. Iceland, these guys have like nothing, right? This is an ice cold world. It is freezing. It is dark. All they have is like fishing. And they've actually built a very wealthy country, very good, healthcare because the population's a really smart population. They all are high trust. And, even though they completely lack, traditional natural resources like, what you would get in, other parts of the world. But because they're so, it's a great population, it ends up being very wealthy, right? So that's one of the secrets of the world. That you're probably not going to find in the mainstream news out there. But, if you think about that, it's very, very true. And I actually have a degree in economics. I have a mainstream degree in economics. We don't talk about it much. Doesn't really matter. I don't really care if people have degrees or not. But I actually have studied economics before. I'm degree qualified in economics. Not that I really care about that or I don't really talk about it much on the channel. But that's just one of the things I think people need to understand, and it can simplify economics as well, because in economics, and I don't want to go on a huge tangent right here and drift off, but you can get distracted in terms of like GDP and all these numbers that to some degree don't even mean anything if you get too burrowed down in those numbers. What you want to be looking at is is your country safe? Is it secure? Is it wealthy? Can I get treated for healthcare? Can I is it a good country to live in, basically? That's the big questions you want to be thinking about. And you can even drill that down even more locally in terms of your neighborhood as well. So are you in a good neighborhood? Can you trust your neighbors? Do people look after each other? Do they provide good services and products to each other? Or is it like, everyone's stealing from each other and there's lots of crime? So that's, one of the things you can think about. We could talk some economics on this channel because really this channel is all about, I'm sharing with you guys my inner thoughts and my secret views on the world. And we know a lot of things about the world. We can predict a lot of things right here on this channel. Now that's coming from Young Pistachio. Peter says, if we are there for rare earth minerals and oil is a smokescreen, we'll be there for a long time. So yes, look, the other thing to understand is, when it comes to politics, what they tell you is not the truth. So generally what they've figured out is it's almost like psychological warfare, right? So they're going to tell you the most salient story or the most influential story to get you to commit types of actions. So like, for example, when they're invading, say, the Middle East, they'll say like, oh, we're bringing democracy. Even though that doesn't even mean really anything, that's what they'll tell you. So we're bringing democracy, and what they're really after is, you know, another set of goals and objectives that are kind of hidden, but they can't really say, you know, our goals is to steal the oil or steal whatever it is, or, you know, to take out this and this and this, because it wouldn't sell with the public. But there's a lot of things right here, and I actually noticed Daniel Castellanos, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, Wag the Dog. That's a good movie. So I think that is a very good movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend watching it. It's a political movie, but very much how a lot of countries could potentially be run, particularly in the USA as well. It is R-rated, so just keep that on the radar. Not one for kids, but it's pretty interesting. That movie, very accurate. Could be a very accurate portrayal of how the world is actually run. Now, what else have we got? We got one more comment I thought I saw. Peter says, I'm curious about how this will affect the mines that I have stocks in Peru. They're getting lots of silver along with copper, lead, and even uranium out of my mines. I'm a bit worried that the whole area will be affected. This small mining stock has been making me more than happy. I know the rare earth minerals are in the mountainous jungle areas of Venezuela, and there's been lots of fighting for it in this section for a long time. So interesting comment there, right, Peter? So what I'd say, generally speaking, is you don't want to have, you don't want to see like a Syria situation or a Iraq situation where you have basically a split faction, where you have like government approved forces versus like annoyed locals who are now like engaged in a military fighting back against occupational forces. Not that Trump is really going to, I don't think he's going to occupy Venezuela, but obviously you don't want like a military conflict in the zone, and then you have this huge, infighting. And what actually backfires a lot of the time is these countries, after these big kind of foreign shake-ups, they all like leave these countries and they come into Europe and they come into America. So you can see that play out in Iraq, Syria, a lot of these Middle East countries. All the immigrants come into Europe and the USA, and it's just something you're going to have on the radar. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But again, if you want a good resolution, what you're looking for is security, safety, happy people. Whether we're going to get that or not, I'm not sure. But I do hope you make lots of money, Peter. And guys, that is a major update for Venezuela. For silver, things are looking super solid. Precious metals looking super solid as well, plus some economic analysis as well. Guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Go have a great day. I will see you in the next video. Economic Zeus signing out.